Tonight on the Man Hour, myself and Tori Anderson at manhour_Tori on the old Twitter machine dive into Santa's fantasy football questions. We will give you 9 players to start or sit out of each game coming up Sunday, and of course tonight game as well. And as always, if you have any fantasy football questions, hit us down in the chat, and we'll definitely get those answers as soon as you can. But first, we got to cue that intro.
You don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that thing. I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, then listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Stripes like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzz beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Buckasher here with the Man Hour. Be sure to head over to manhourradio.com. Check out the merchandise page, and of course, check out the blog section as well. We have new blogs dropping each and every day right over there at manhourradio.com. And of course, now we have the new Fire merch, logo merch that just dropped over there on about a month ago. And that has been the hot seller as of right now. And our Troll merch is officially out there. And right now we have released the Detroit Lions. Maybe next year, since 1959 shirts have officially been launched, and those have been selling like hotcakes as well. I think we sold 10 in about 3 days. So get your merch, guys. It is going to go hot, and it is that special time of year where you can use promo code BUCK. That's BUCK, and save yourself 20%. Saving money is always a great thing when you're working here with the Man Hour. But before we get too carried away in today's show, we have to welcome the man, the myth, the ladies, the peanut butter to my ladies, Mr. Tori freaking Anderson. What's up, Tori?
Just refer to me as Mr. Steal Your Fantasy Football Championship.
I love it. How was your day, Tori? I mean, you got a fresh cut. You're looking good. You got the polo on.
Ooh.
Man,
How
how hard is it being that freaking sexy, Corey?
It's pretty hard. I mean, you saw the picture yesterday. I was straight up Boston yesterday.
Yeah.
I was suited up. I looked like a big dog yesterday.
Yeah, you did. And I believe my comment was to say, easy, our wives are on this app, and people seem to think that was funny. I wasn't joking. Easy, my wife is on that app, Tori. Calm down.
But luckily, your wife and I aren't friends, so I can't be Mr. Steal Your Girl. I'm pretty sure she would beat us both up.
Hey,
yeah, no.
Hang on. You gave her a Packers jersey, Aaron freaking Rodgers jersey, a Super Bowl jersey, right?
That you wear. Yeah, it's the Super Bowl.
She didn't even friend you? Sheesh. We might have to have a conversation about that. That is unacceptable. But, Tori, what is unacceptable is my wife turning down my trade offer that I offered because we're in a family bragging rights fantasy football league. And basically, I have too many tight ends on my team because I was kind of being a dick during the draft. I'm like, give me all the tight ends, right? And that was completely stupid. It was completely asinine. But now I have like Kyle Pitts, Travis Kelce, and George Kittle all on my roster, and I have no running back. Well, she has no tight end playing this week, so I offered her George Kittle and Kyle Pitts for Saquon Barkley, and she said, hell no. Did she make a good hell no on that trade offer, Tori?
Absolutely. What are you even thinking? Kittle's been playing hurt this year. Pitts, you don't know what you're going to get out of him each week. I'll tell you this. If you want to play Kyle Pitts, consult me. Because if it's for DraftKings and I pick Kyle Pitts, he doesn't do anything. But if I don't pick him, he goes off. Like, I cannot pick him right at all on DraftKings for my life. So I'm like, God, he's such a boomer bust candidate.
Yeah.
But no, your wife was 100% correct to reject that trade. Why would you offer 2 tight ends You had to at least, you should have threw something else in there.
Oh, well, because really, like I said, I was being an asshole when I drafted pretty much all tight ends the first 4 rounds. So I literally have nobody. And so, but somehow I'm still in second place at, I think, like 4-4 or something like that, 4-5. But she's like 9-0. So I'm just like, she has something to spare, right? You know what makes me mad about her? No matter what game we play, fantasy football, euchre, checkers, chess, hell, we can play war. I have never beaten her at anything head-to-head. Never.
It's because you guys are married. She's allowed to beat you at everything.
Yeah, Tori, we were playing basketball, and I'm trying to body her down low and, like, dunking on her. I missed a dunk. She takes it up the court, shoots a 3, and ends the game.
Wait, but didn't she play college basketball?
Yeah, but still. I'm still a man, though. Anyways. I'm a man. I'm a 40-year-old man. No, I'm not 40 yet.
I'm 40 years old. I'm a man.
Well, Tori, let's get into some fantasy football talk here. And we got, 12 games here that we are going to break down. Not really break down, but you are going to give me a player that you want to start and a player that you want to sit from each and every game moving forward. And let's start on tonight's game that's happening, in about a half hour here. So you still have about a half hour to set your fantasy rosters if you haven't done so yet. But the Atlanta Falcons, speaking of Kyle Pitts, they are at the Carolina Panthers this weekend, or tonight, actually, at 8:15 East Coast time, 7:15 Central time. So you actually have about 10 minutes to get this roster set. But give me a player to start and a player who is sit.
So he just came back. He had 2 touchdowns coming back last week. Coming back because guess what? I traded him the week before he got hurt. Cordero Patterson, you need to put him in your lineup. You have to have him. A lot of people were really worried about Algiers maybe stealing some carries. Algiers still playing well, but it's still Cordero Patterson's job. He's still kind of their multi-tool Swiss Army knife back, and they're gonna use him a ton. Algiers gonna get his, but it's still going to be the Cordero Patterson show. And now on the flip side, we are going right back to Kyle Pitts because I'm saying sit him this week, just because it was a really tight, kind of window between him and Drake London. Drake London has not played like he did the first couple of weeks. His numbers have kind of tanked. And like I said, with Kyle Pitts, you literally just don't know what you're going to get week in and week out. Marcus Mariota is starting to come back to earth a little bit, playing like, Marcus Mariota. So you don't know what you're going to get week in and week out of the Atlanta passing game. So right now, I would tell you bench Drake London and Kyle Pitts, at least for this week, until they kind of get some semblance of a rhythm, which they have not had yet this year.
Right. So, Tori, while we are talking more about this, if you can go to your settings on your link that I sent you and make sure you're pointed towards your microphone, because it looks like you're pointed to your webcam. So we got a little echoing happening. That's my fault. I should have checked that pre-show. But, guys, just to reiterate, Tori did say basically sit anybody on the Atlanta Falcons. Drake London, Kyle Pitts. And did you say bench Cordell Patterson too, or did you say start?
No. You want to start him.
Okay. You want to start Cordell Patterson.
Is this one better?
That is a lot better. We sound like we're in the same room now, like you aren't talking on the shitter over there. So, guys, that was the first game.
I clicked the wrong one.
The Atlanta Falcons versus the Carolina Panthers. But Tori, and then we wait a couple days. Friday, Saturday, some college football rolls around, right? But then Sunday morning, we have this game, a very intriguing game to me, to say the least. But on the fantasy aspect, we have the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Germany. Give me a player to start and a player to bench out of this matchup.
Jawohl, football! Because we are in Munich.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about the extent of my German too. So it's not very deep. So in that game, I'm going to tell you, start Geno Smith. Geno Smith has proven himself to kind of be a quarterback that should be in your lineup now. I mean, we're week 10 now?
Yep.
And he just has not fallen off. If you listen, I think a few weeks ago, did I say he was going to fall off?
I believe so.
I said he'd fall off a cliff, and he just keeps going. The Tampa Bay defense is not what it was last year or even the year before that. They're not the vaunted defense that they were. There's a lot of holes on that defense. And I mean, when you give up 21 to Carolina and lose, there's some issues going on there.
Right.
It took a last second miracle last week for them to even beat the Rams. I'm not going to say that the refs didn't help that one at all, but different story, different day.
Right.
But yeah, I would take Geno Smith just because, again, he still has Lockett, he still has DK Metcalf. Will Dissly has been quietly extremely good, and because I talked smack on Noah Fant last week, guess what? Noah Fant came out and had a good game last week because I was all running my mouth about him. And then and then you got Kenneth Walker II that has kind of stabilized that backfield. Like, the Seahawks are a sneaky good team. So I would tell you start Geno Smith. On the flip side, I don't think you can trust any of the Tampa Bay running backs right now. Touchdown Lenny has not been touching anything.
Right.
Touchdown Lenny has been not a good running back for anybody. Rashad White's not the answer. I've seen a lot of people picking up Rashad White in a lot of leagues, thinking that he's going to start cutting into those carries for Lenny, but he's not. They are just not a good run the ball team right now. And heck, let's just say their whole offense isn't their offensive line is in shambles right now.
Right.
And that's not going to bode well for your points. They're averaging what? I think they're averaging like 13 points a game or 14 points a game that the Buccaneers are. And again, that's like how Green Bay is this year in offense that's normally extremely potent. I would say Tampa Bay should be a little bit more potent with the wide receivers they got there too. But it's just not a good start right now. It's not a good gamble to start any of the Tampa Bay running backs at this point.
Yeah, and also on the flip side of the coin, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the worst rushing attack in all of the NFL. So definitely jump on that board 100%. Don't start anybody in the backfield for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So then after that early morning game, we get a nice good buzz. 1 o'clock comes rolling on in, and the first game, the game that everybody is amped up about, two top teams in the NFL, and that is the Minnesota Vikings at the Buffalo Bills. Give me a player to sit and a player to start out of this matchup.
Ugh. There's so many moving parts to this one going into Sunday, because I would tell you sit Josh Allen. Josh Allen didn't practice again tonight or today. Honestly, it all comes down to if he can even practice on Friday. I would tell you if he does not practice tomorrow, I would probably put him on my bench, and chances are they're going to say he's day-to-day. He'll be a game time decision. Luckily at that point you have a half hour before kickoff because they'll have to have their injury designations in there. But if say Josh Allen does play, one of the guys that was supposed to be one of the top tight ends, and I'm going to mix it up here. I'm going to go with my sit first, and that's going to be Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox was supposed to be one of the better tight ends in the league this year. Again, you just don't know week in, week out what you're going to get with him. He's been inconsistent because, I mean, when you have Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis and Isaiah McKenzie to throw to, it doesn't leave a lot of targets left for your tight end there. So I would tell you definitely sit him. The start, I'm going to tell you though, is still going to be with them because you do have a banged up Josh Allen. So if Josh Allen does go, and it doesn't matter if it's Case Keenum. I do believe Case Keenum's the backup there.
He is.
So I would tell you Devin Singletary would probably be a good start, or even or Hines. Because at that point you have an injured Josh Allen or you have a Case Keenum. They're going to do a lot of dump offs to the backs. So if you're in a PPR league, 100% you're going to want Devin Singletary in there, or you're going to want to be putting Hines in there because of the way that they're going to just use them, because you're going to try to limit the hits on your quarterback at that point. And what's that mean? That means a lot of little quick outs, little quick slants, everything else. And it's going to be everything underneath at that point, trying to make sure your quarterback stays upright.
Yeah, and that's a great aspect there. I mean, because me and Nick Combs actually talked about this last night, how the Buffalo Bills would probably be a more balanced offense with Case Keenum in there versus Josh Allen. just because of the more of the running attack and the dump ball passes type of thing here. So sticking to the 1 o'clock games, let's head up over to the NFC North, and that is one of the best offenses in the league earlier in the season, not so much now, but that's the Detroit Lions taking on the Chicago Bears at Chicago. Give me a player to sit and a player to start.
So start either kicker in that game. I mean, honestly, the kickers are probably going to have. I actually picked up Cairo Santos because while Tucker's on bye, so I actually in both of our league, or so my money league and our league, I picked up Cairo Santos to kick this weekend because one, the game's in Detroit, so it's in the dome. So
the game's in Chicago.
Is it?
Yeah.
Either way, it's still not terrible weather yet.
Right.
But actually, for my start, he's been hurt. He's been banged up. He started coming to life again last week, and that's DeAndre Swift. You know, he's missed most of the season, been banged up and hurt. They're still kind of working him back in, still giving Jamal Williams his credit and his due. Actually, there again, that hurt me in DraftKings last weekend too, because I'm like, well, maybe they'll give Jamal Williams because he's playing the Packers. They'll give him a little bit more of the rock. Nope. DeAndre Swift said, nope, I'm back. Here's my backfield. I 100% start him in all formats. It doesn't matter the format. As far as my sit goes, even though he had a pretty good game, Darnell Mooney, he had one good week, and that's the first good week that he's had pretty much all season. People are going to look at is Fields building? Is this really what he's doing? Is this where he's moving? I mean, could it be the Chase Claypool effect, having him on the other side? It could be, but I don't see it, just because judging by the fact that Justin Fields ran for 176 yards tells me that passing game is nowhere near where they need it to be. So 100%, I would tell you, put Mooney on the bench if you have him on your roster.
Yeah. Also, on the flip side of the coin there, I'm in 5 leagues, and 4 of the 5 leagues, Justin Fields is available quarterback in 4 of those 5 leagues. Is Justin Fields a quarterback yet you would want to start versus this horrendous Denver or this horrendous Detroit Lions defense?
Absolutely, 100%. Especially as we talk about like dual threat running backs in PPR or King. Same, doesn't matter what league you're in. If you have a dual threat quarterback,
right,
they're right behind the running backs because they can be point machines. I mean, we're seeing it with Jalen Hurts this year. Yep. You see it with Josh Allen. Like, you see those dual threat, and Lamar, obviously another great example. Those quarterbacks become invaluable. And the way Fields is kind of developing, if he's going to be that kind of running, basically try to be a Lamar 2.0, that's not a terrible thing to have on your fantasy football team, because guess what? You get probably more points for the rushing yards than you do for the passing yards.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So let's continue working our way through these 1 o'clock games here. Give me a player to start and a player to sit. The next game up is the Denver Broncos taking on the Tennessee Titans in Nashville. Give me a couple players.
Oh, my God. Just sit everybody. Sit everybody. And, without trying to be I'll just be start Derrick Henry. I'm trying to, get away from, that part of it. Obviously, neither team is playing real great right now. I mean, Tennessee put up a pretty good fight against Kansas City last week, but ultimately fell. I mean, if you're looking for, I'm trying to go unconventional here, and that's a tough one. I would say look for maybe Malik Willis. I couldn't think of his name for a minute there. Malik Willis to actually have a little bit of a coming out party. I would say if you're looking for a sneaky good start, Malik Willis might be. Denver's traded a lot of their defensive pieces. It's a team that's basically going into rebuild mode. Do they really want to win? Maybe the players probably do. The coaches probably don't, even though they say Hackett's pretty much coaching for his life. But, at that point, you're not a good football team. You're not a good football team. Why not just kind of mail it in? And again, when you traded your heart and soul of your defense, that pretty much tells me that you're raising the white flag. Malik Willis could have a good start this week. And basically same reason for Justin Fields. He's going to be able to run around. He's going to be able to make some plays. He's probably not going to do a ton with his arm because I think he threw 15 passes total.
9 for 15 for 80 something yards. Yep.
Yeah. So it's not like he's going to light it up through the air. So I would tell you, take a look at potentially him as a sneaky good start against that Denver defense, because I have a sneaking suspicion he's going to get a touchdown or two scrambling. So I think they're gonna start to loosen it up now, because this is his third week in a row he's starting. So they'll loosen some things up for him. Right. As far as a sit go, again, almost anybody else in this game.
Let me ask you this real quick. Since you think, just because I think this quarterback for the Tennessee Titans is a better version of Lamar Jackson that can run and he can put the ball where he wants to. Does that take fantasy value away from Derrick Henry?
No, because he's still the focal point of that offense at this point, and at this point in time. I mean, next year that could completely change. Say Malik Willis starts lighting it up,
right?
That's probably going to affect Derrick Henry next year, which again, not a bad thing because he's going to be a year older. There's a lot more tread wore off the tire at that point, so that's not a bad thing. It's actually, if anything, it's going to extend Derrick Henry's career and his usefulness, because now there's a bunch of carries that he doesn't have to get, and it leaves him fresher for the late game.
Very true. All right, so moving on to the next game here. This game is kind of near and dear to my heart because I am a Chiefs fan, but it is the Jacksonville Jaguars coming to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Give me a player to sit and a player to start from this game.
Wait, who's KC playing this week?
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh, start every Jaguar against that terrible Kansas City Chief defense. So, again, without trying to be super obvious, Juju, is having a nice bounce back year with Mahomes. He's starting to become like the must start guy again as well. Somebody was it? I think we had a question last weekend too, and they're like, "Do I start Mecole Hardman or somebody else that had like way more upside?" And I'm like, well, you can't really start Hardman. And what does Hardman do? Go out and score 2 touchdowns.
Well, it was 3, wasn't it? Yeah.
Great. He had 1 rushing and 1 receiving, I think.
Yeah, something.
I'm like, great. But yeah, I would tell you Juju's becoming that guy that needs to be started every single week now. Again, he's on a 1-year deal, so there's literally every incentive under the world for him to play out of his mind, because he's playing for a long-term contract at this point. Right. And whether that's with Kansas City or with somebody else will remain to be seen then by the end of the season. As far as sitting a player, Mecole Hart, I'm just kidding. I said him last week. So, I would say, if anything, I would say Christian Kirk, just because I think there's going to be a ton of pressure. The offensive line is still not great in Jacksonville to protect Trevor Lawrence. I think that front 7 of Kansas City will put a lot of pressure on him. It's going to really limit him. It's going to force him into more dump offs, more screens, and everything else, just because they're going to bring it. He's still a second-year quarterback with not a great offensive line. That's just asking to get feasted on by a defensive coordinator at that point. They're going to find every hole that they got in that and just send the house at him every time. So I would tell you probably Christian Kirk. I don't think Christian Kirk's going to have a great week this week.
Yeah, and also just to piggyback on your sit-em here a tad bit, the strength of the Kansas City's defense is right now is stopping the rushing game, and everything that you said about the Jaguars' offensive line, they're not very good. They're young, so probably sit Travis Etienne as well. I don't think he is going to do very well versus Kansas City Chiefs this week.
Hard to say with him, just because he's the real deal. He's one of those that he's gonna find a way. And that's where I refuse to kind of say sit him this week, because whether it's a handoff or a dump off pass, he is a threat to go all the way every single time.
True.
And that's why I won't say that with him. Doesn't matter. That offensive line could be terrible. All it takes is 1 block and he's gone.
Or don't block anybody at all and just let him work his way through, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, did you see some of the runs he had last week?
I did. I actually got to sit down and watch a full Jacksonville Jaguars game because they were airing it on our TV for some reason, which was weird. But yeah, I was like, wow, this is really, really good. I can't wait to see him in a couple years with the good offensive line. But speaking of good offensive line, the Cleveland Browns do not seem to have one right now. But that is the next game on our list as the Cleveland Browns traveling down to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Give me a player to sit and a player to start.
Ooh, sit. Again, there's a lot of talent in this one.
Yeah.
I would say probably a tight end that's probably had a really good year, and that's Gesicki. Gesicki, I would probably sit down this week. I think that because they are suspect on the corners, Cleveland is, you're going to see a whole lot of Waddle and Tyreek going down the field until they can get that game to a comfortable lead. And there again, I would tell you that this is probably my game I would actually pick for this game's going to be a shootout, just because Jacoby Brissett has played phenomenal.
Yep.
And who was the backup in Miami last year? Jacoby.
Right.
So, there's probably a little chip on his shoulder, a little extra incentive to be an amazing player. But I would say Gesicki probably not the best player to start. As far as start, any of the wide receivers on either team. I would tell you Cooper, Peoples-Jones, Waddle, Hill. What's the other guy? Sherfield. Sherfield has stepped up the last couple of weeks for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And then, God, there's another guy in Cleveland. I can't think of his name that's been kind of playing well too. So, yeah, I apologize. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, well, I mean, he gets overshadowed by Cooper and Peoples-Jones, but yeah, I know he's like number 82 or 83. I think he is. And he always seems to be open. He reminds me of Scotty Miller for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that Super Bowl year. He just was always in the right spot at the right time. But yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about, but the name slipped mine as well. So keep it on moving down these roster here. We got about 5 games left to pick some players here. The next one up is the Houston Texans traveling to New York and MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Football Giants. Give me a player to start and a player to sit.
Hold on, I'm about to ban somebody from our Facebook chat.
Is it the Armara Quincy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I already blocked her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Get out of here with that crap.
Right. Yeah, that's the one thing that you will see is that we are really good on our pages about getting rid of spam before it hits. I will tell you right now, if you join our fantasy football discussion group, which if you're not in it, what are you doing? That you need to be in it. Like, that's one of the things that is almost immediate that comes out. So.
Are you good at because I have her blocked on the Man Hour page as well and YouTube, so we're good to go?
We are good to go.
All
Sorry about that, folks. So now, what game were we talking about?
All right, so keep it on moving down here. Let's just transition right on over. Houston Texans travel to New York to take on the New York Football Giants. Give me a player to sit and a player to start this week.
After singing his praises 2 weeks ago, I'm going to tell you to sit Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, again, the lack of having receiver depth has finally caught up to them. Like, people have kind of figured out the Giants. Their whole team basically stems from how well does Saquon play. If Saquon's having a good game, it's going to open up things for Daniel. But if he's not, it's going to make things rough on Daniel. The Houston Texans defense is actually better than what I kind of anticipated them to be. They're probably 2 years away from being anything formidable, but they have a lot of really young pieces. I think Derek Stingley Jr. is going to be probably one of the best around. Well, by the time he kind of figures it all out, he's already a really good corner. So they have a lot of really good pieces there, but I would say sit Daniel Jones this week. Start, I will tell you, day in and day out, Dameon Pierce, just because that kid is now becoming everything that we kind of all thought he would be in the preseason. And again, if you passed on him, you missed a great player just because I drafted him. So
pat yourself on the
I
back.
mean, that
there,
automatically makes him great because I drafted him.
Right.
So yeah, I would tell you, start Dameon Pierce. I mean, because right now they don't have a lot for receivers there, at least receivers that you've heard of. Besides, you got Brandon Cooks, and name me 2 other receivers on the Houston Texans roster. I can name one, and that's Nico Collins.
I can't tell you.
And outside of that, I can.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you anybody else on that roster.
Yeah, that running back for the Texans has surprised me a lot this season. Yeah,
he showed it in the preseason though. Yeah. Like this is like we kind of thought it would be that way.
Definitely nailed the head on the hammer on the head there. How do you say it?
Hit the hammer on the head.
Yeah, that one. Speaking of not hitting hammers on the heads of the nails or whatever you want to call it, the New Orleans Saints are taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. This one seems like a kind of like a fantasy bust, honestly, type of a game. But give me a player to sit and a player to start.
Sit, Mr. Bust himself, Mr. NFL Bust, Najee Harris himself this year. If I had any other running back on my roster I could start this week, I would. Because he is not good. And that New Orleans defense is pretty good. So I don't think Najee Harris is going to do a whole lot. If you have Najee Harris on your roster, definitely sit him this week. That's just not going to be a pretty game. On the flip side, you're going to probably want to start Kamara. Not that you're never going to not start Kamara, but it's, Kamara is probably going to feast on that defense. It's, no TJ Watt. There's a lot of holes on that defense. Again, Pittsburgh is kind of in that transitioning phase of, are we rebuilding? Are we still trying to stay competitive? They don't quite know who they are at this point,
right.
When they should be pretty much full on rebuild right now. But they're still Pittsburgh. They're considered a blue blood, so they're always going to try to remain competitive. So I would tell you though, Kamara against that defense right now, Kamara should feast and feast and feast on that team.
Yeah, it's just crazy what a year can do to a team, right? The Pittsburgh Steelers were a top-ranked defense in the league. Yes, TJ Watt was injured, but quarterback to me, it's just crazy like how much a year has changed for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But we are finally moving into the afternoon games here, and Jeff Saturday gets his coaching debut on the road as the Colts travel to Vegas to take on the Raiders. Give me a player to sit and a player to start.
How weird was that? When Jeff Saturday comes out in his presser and's like, I asked him, Mercy, why me? That's probably not what you want to hear to inspire a lot of confidence in the guy you just named head coach.
Right.
Why did you pick me? Again,
you're my fall guy.
I'm going to tell you, Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman has kind of fallen off the second half of this year. Paris Campbell's actually stepped up for them, but I would tell you, sit. Probably Michael Pittman. He's just not been, that productive the last, 3-4 weeks. Granted, quarterback turmoil at that point. Sam Ehlinger's got no time to throw the ball. And again, he's making his third start.
Yep.
So Ehlinger doesn't have a whole lot of time to figure things out. And that's going to be the big thing is Pittman's going to pay the price for that this year until they do figure out what they're going to do with that quarterback position. I think at the rate this is going, Jeff Saturday probably will go back to Matt Ryan when he can. So, especially when you pay that much money for your quarterback.
Right.
So I would tell you, sit Michael Pittman. As far as start, JT, you're going to have to start JT.
Really?
Just because, yeah. He's back. He's probably as healthy as he's going to get all year. But again, because Ehlinger is not going to have time to throw, again, dump offs. He's going to dump. If you play PPR league, that's your best friend is a quarterback that's not going to have any time because he's going to dump it off to your running backs all day. Because it's going to be running backs and tight ends in at that point. So I don't know. I think Mo Alie-Cox is hurt. No, I remember they threw it to whatever the tight end's name. I'm like, who the hell is that? I never even heard of him.
Yeah.
So, you're in Indianapolis there. Come on, don't you know him?
No, I sure don't. And what's sad is I feel like the Indianapolis Colts had 3 good tight ends. Just last year? Now all of a sudden they have none. It's just crazy.
And now the Raiders have Waller on IR. They have Renfro on IR. Jacobs hasn't performed. Devontae finally had a really good week last week for them. But again, the one thing that Indy does have going for it is their defense is good.
Yeah.
So I do think that the Raiders will struggle. So I would be venturing to say that, I wouldn't even start Devontae then, but Devontae's Devontae. So are you really ever going to put him on the bench? Like,
I
so
have
him
on the bench right now, so yes.
Who do you got starting though?
Gabriel Davis and DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I would probably, just again, if Josh Allen plays, stick with Gabe Davis. If it's Case Keenum, I'm putting Devontae in.
I don't know. It is hard to start a player that has been so inconsistent this year. Not a knock on his ability whatsoever, just the Raiders team as a whole, right? It's just been very, very
again, another team with just a dreadful offensive line.
Yeah. Very big questions moving forward. Speaking of a team that has very big questions moving forward, we are strongly into our Sunday afternoon games here, and that's the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Lambeau Field to take on your Green Bay Packers. Give me a player to sit besides Aaron Rodgers and a player to start besides Aaron Rodgers.
Why you gotta take away my sit? I was even gonna. So my start is gonna be Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is going to tear them apart. The Packers are terrible against the run. I think we're like 17th or 18th in the league against the run.
Wow.
And they're like third against the pass. Well, because they're good against the pass because, we can't stop the run. So,
gotta be good at
the whole
right?
the yin and the yang of it all. Something's got to give at that point.
Right.
But so, yeah, I would tell you start Tony Pollard. Again, this is McCarthy's return to Green Bay. He's gonna have something to prove. The one big knock on McCarthy that's always been is what I say it all the time. He abandons the run at the first sign of trouble. Yep. I think he's gonna come in and he's gonna let Tony Pollard just kind of demolish us. I don't have a lot of faith in my Packers winning this game on Sunday, so we will see. Definitely, you're gonna start Tony Pollard. Honestly, and I think I said it before the beginning of the year that Tony Pollard's the better back in Dallas. He's better than Zeke. Zeke's overrated, and he's going to literally probably take Zeke's position after this year. I don't think Zeke's on the Cowboys next year. That's my prediction, at least. Depends on what his cap hit will be next year.
Right.
And then as far as my sit, since he's told me I can't sit Rodgers because I would tell you to sit Rodgers, I would tell you sit Lazard then, because that's a pretty good Dallas defense that they got there, and we really don't have a whole lot for receivers. Randall Cobb's hurt. Romeo Doubs is out for like a month. They're going to be able to key on Lazard because we're going to be running out. While Tunyon at tight end. We'll be running out Samori Toure at receiver. Maybe Christian Watson, who has proven he couldn't catch a cold if it hit him in the face. So it's going to be not pretty. So I would tell you Lazard. If you won't let me pick Rodgers, I'm picking Lazard to not have a really good game.
So with that being said, the Green Bay Packers win, and Aaron Rodgers throws for 5 touchdowns to Christian Watson, and they beat the Cowboys 42-7. It's just going to be a blowout, right?
Or it'll be 42-35, and there'll be a bobbled catch that Cowboys fans will still be complaining about that it was really a catch.
Listen,
like 10 years later.
Dez caught it. All right, Dez caught it.
He did not catch it.
Let's just call it.
It was incomplete.
Okay, he was reaching for the whatever. Moving on to the next game, Tori. This game has a lot of fantasy implications moving forward. Odell Beckham Jr. did just sign with the LA Rams. Obviously, he is not cleared to play until about till December timeframe here. But the Arizona Cardinals travel to LA to take on the Rams. Give me a player to sit and a player to start.
Wait, did I miss something? Odell did re-sign with the Rams?
Yep, he just signed a 1-year, $1.3 million deal this morning, I think it was, when it first came official.
Well, that makes me even smarter. I picked up Odell in my one league because nobody had picked him up. Yep. I'm like, he's due to come back. I'm picking him up. Worst it cost me is $2. Mm-hmm. So don't start. My sit is Odell because he's not going to play. I mean, let's make that.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
So Oh God, who are they playing?
It is the Arizona Cardinals versus the LA Rams.
Oh my God, there's another one that could end up in a shootout with the way those two defenses are playing.
Yeah.
No, the Rams defense is definitely not the Rams defense, obviously the last 2 years either.
Right.
I would tell you probably start Nuke. D-Hop has been balling out. I said I played it cautious first week. I said I wouldn't start him the first week just because it's first week back. He'd be knocking off. What he did, he had like 10 catches for like 98 yards and a touchdown.
Destroyed him. Destroyed him.
I'm like, all right. Again, being really good at fantasy football sometimes is a lot like being a meteorologist. Yeah. I'm not going to be right 100% of the time. And sometimes you're going to have to come in and look and be like, I was wrong.
Right.
I missed that one. And I missed that one. But ever since he's come back, he has been just, being D-Hop. He has been dominant. He's been the receiver that we all know he is. So I'm sure Kyler's pretty happy he's back too, because now he can just play his chuck and duck game with D-Hop again.
Exactly.
Half the reason that Kyler Murray is considered a good reason or a good quarterback is because he just chucks it up to D-Hop.
Exactly.
As far as my sit goes, I will say, sit Darrell Henderson this week. The Rams have pretty much just abandoned the run. They aren't even throwing a ton to him out of the backfield. Mm-hmm. He's just not scoring like I kind of thought he would be once he kind of took the starting role from Cam Akers. And again, Cam Akers is probably going to suit up and potentially play this weekend. So, they're trying to patch things up and work things through with him, allegedly.
Talk about drama.
So, right?
You are
the guy father. Went from basically being out of town.
Yeah.
Guy went from on the next bus out of town to just kidding. I brought the milk back.
It was, man, that whole drama, it was just so stupid. So, but the last game we are going to break down, a very intriguing game on paper, is the LA Chargers. Sorry, let me push record here. It's the LA Chargers taking on the San Francisco 49ers. This is the Sunday night game. Give me a player to sit and a player to start in this game, fantasy-wise.
Oh, sit. He's going to play. Everything points that he's going to play, but sit Keenan Allen. I'm still not putting him in any of my lineups right now. For whatever reason, I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know what the nagging part of that injury is for his hamstring, but he's still not being Keenan Allen. Again, they have a banged up offensive line with the Chargers, banged up at receiver. That pretty much leaves Austin Eckler and Palmer to do everything for Herbert. Right. So not that that's terrible, because Eckler is leading the league in touchdowns after not scoring a touchdown until week 3. So
right.
If that tells you anything, actually, he might not be anymore after Mixon's 5 touchdowns last week.
I know. Jesus.
Which, thank you, Joe Mixon, in our league.
Yeah.
He single-handedly beat Combs for me.
Yeah, he did.
Dropped like 55 points.
Stupid.
I think my team scored 130. He had 55 of them. He had almost half my points. But I would tell you, probably sit Herbert. Just because he's really got nobody to throw it to. But I would tell you, obviously, start Eckler. Like, that's just kind of a no-brainer, is to start Eckler. He's been all over the place. He's rushing, receiving, you name it. He's going to get it. People are going to be like, oh, but why would I sit Herbert if I could pair him up with Eckler? Yeah, if you have them both, I would probably put them both in my lineup then. But if you have Herbert and not Eckler, I'm probably putting Herbert on the bench just because I don't think he's going to have a great game this week.
All righty, guys. So, as always, if you guys have any fantasy football questions, hit up my man, Tori, on the old Twitter machine or our Facebook fantasy discussion group. The link is in the description below. We are live each and every Thursday right here on Man Hour on youtube.com/Man Hour. And then, of course, facebook.com/Man Hour as well. Man Hour on all social medias, guys. Hit us up. Let us know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. But Tori gave you guys all the Thursday and Sunday games, players to sit and a player to start. So, Tori, since we're in the mindset and we're in a giving mood like always, and let's give them the Monday night game, Tori. Let's give the people what they want. The Monday night game.
Knowledge. The people want knowledge.
We have Washington Commanders taking on the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles at Philly. Give me a player to sit and a player to start from that Monday night matchup.
I'm going to go with Curtis Samuel or Terry McLaurin to sit. Again, dominant defense. Didn't play real well the first couple of weeks. Philadelphia's defense didn't, and has just been absolutely monstrous ever since like week 3. Like they have just gone in, they've shut people down, they've had their way with people. This is not going to be a pretty game. The crazy part is right now is Washington is in last place in their division in a half game out of a playoff spot.
Yep.
Which is crazy to me. But I would tell you, I would sit their receivers. I think that Philadelphia defense is just going to feast on that poor Commanders team. I think, they're going to put up a valiant effort. Taylor Heinicke, if Taylor Heinicke's anything, he's a gamer.
He is.
He's going to be scrappy. He's going to put up a fight. I actually really like Taylor Heinicke.
Yeah.
He's probably one of my favorite players to watch that, people are like, meh. And I'm like, go Taylor.
Yeah.
Just because
it's that playoff game, again, right? Yeah.
Right. Actually, in last year when he played Green Bay, I mean, he screwed up. He started to slide before he scored. So, and that took like a 10-minute review, but like he was that screwed up slide away from beating the Packers last year.
Right.
And then this year he just kind of came back and finished the job. Well, that's everybody's kind of finishing the job on him. Green Bay's taking over the all-time catcher role. So, but as far as starts, again, he's Mr. Unpredictable. Literally, he could put up 20 points for you. He could put up 3 points for you. And that's Devonta Smith for the Eagles. Okay. A.J. Brown's going to get his. A.J. Brown is always going to get his. But Devonta Smith is literally the wild card in that offense. And trust me, I love the guy and hate him on a week in and week out basis because he is on my team as well. And I'm like, what Devonta am I going to get this week? I think because it's a divisional game, I have a feeling that Philadelphia is really going to be up for it, and they're going to be wanting to establish like we are the best. And I do believe that they will come out, and I think they're going to throw the ball a ton, and they're going to throw it all over that Washington defense. Even though they're starting to look better, and they did get Chase Young back, but again, they're probably a year or two away from being anything phenomenal on that defense with Washington.
Right.
Devonta Smith would be my start for this week. And then again, that's like I'm trying to stay away from like you should start Jalen Hurts. Like as much as I did, try to mix it up a little bit.
Right. Tori, you want a hot take? Do you want to hear some real news about the Philadelphia Eagles? Do you? If you tell me they're the worst team in the NFC, I'm going to just turn my computer off. They are not the best team in the NFC by hands down. No way. No way whatsoever. But the Philadelphia Eagles will not. Tune in next time, guys, on Man Hour.